Hi, I'm your instructor, Dr. Weigand. It's my honor to share with you excerpts from an interview I conducted with my dear friend and neighbor, Deborah Roseanne. Debbie is one of the 30% of American Jews who do not identify with any particular subgroup of Judaism, although, as you will hear, she is religiously observant. Her thoughtful reflections here illustrate Debbie's deep sense of Jewish identity and the complexities of living out that identity every day.
So, were you born Jewish and
Yes.
raised Jewish?
Yes, I was born and raised Jewish. My grandfather came over from Russia on a boat through Ellis Island, and those were stories I was raised on. And my grandmother actually was, her siblings came over on the boat, but she was born on the Lower East Side and very, very proud of being born in America. And my grandparents actually were married on July 4th because they were so proud of being Americans. Along with that, they were very strict Orthodox Jews, and they raised my mother in a strict Orthodox family. My mother raised me in a totally identified as Jewish family. We always celebrate the Sabbath and the holidays. A lot of talk about Israel and politics, but a much less strict environment than she was raised in.
And do you know why that was?
She did feel oppressed by being so different from her schoolmates in the schools she attended. And that was very hard for her. So I think she didn't want to do that to her children.
And so, did the way that you raised your two sons reflect the way you were raised?
No, I went back a little bit more to some rules and regulations that my mother had chosen not to raise us with, and worked very hard not to have my kids have that experience. It's a different day and age of children, and as well as societal day and age. I think I had more opportunities than my mother to study Jewish text, and I went to Israel 40 years before she did. She actually came to visit me and had never been. And in the course of, I was always interested for sure, and she supported that, but in the course of going to Israel and studying text, I felt more compelled to keep and observe some of what I was studying. And some of the stories from her childhood started to make sense or I understood from a different angle, where she had told them from, almost like a kind of cuckoo, can you believe my parents did this? I started to understand that, when you accidentally get your meat fork in the cottage cheese, it makes sense to stick it in a plant. Who knew?
I asked Debbie how she approaches interpretation of Torah.
I believe that, when it comes to Torah, to the five books of Moses, I often say, I don't know if it all happened, but I know it's true. So, was there a literal, did this story, literally go on word for word? I'm not willing to say no, but I don't know yes. But is there something deep to be learned from it? Absolutely. And I would even go a step further and say, is there some larger reason it's part of a Jewish text in some way that I can't begin to understand or would call God or whatever? And I'm comfortable making that leap.
Here are Debbie's thoughts on adapting Jewish observance of Halakha to changing times and cultural contexts.
But we were really fundamental. If there were really fundamentalists in Judaism, we'd still be having burnt sacrifices. So the truth is, there's nobody who's doing everything. So we've already, even the strictest Jews, have already stopped some things. They might not see it that way, but I definitely think it's all very much alive and has always been a changing thing in various Jewish communities under various circumstances. And I I think that's actually part of our heritage and culture as Jews, and the old saying, 5 Jews, 6 opinions, I think really holds true. And we see that in text. When you take a look at Jewish text, in the center of the page, for example, would be the actual laws. And all around the edges are, this rabbi said that about it, this rabbi said that about it, that rabbi originally thought that about it, but then they changed their mind, they said that about it. And then, schools of thought come from that, and we follow this guy, or we follow that guy. But the fact is that this is what turned me on so much when I first started studying, that the discussion itself is so deep and has so much richness in it, and is so human. And I personally believe, yes, it's a living set of laws, and it always has been.
In the next clip, Debbie describes her reasoning when making a decision about Sabbath observance.
For example, we never drove the car on the Sabbath, but my kids always rode their bikes. Definitely prohibited. I mean, there's just no doubt about it. I felt like if it made the difference of them being happier going to synagogue a mile and a half away on their bikes rather than walking or not, it was worth it. I felt like if it meant we had a family outing on the Sabbath when we don't watch TV and we don't use the car and we don't listen to the radio, that we did something. However, if I was taking them to pray in a community where that would be offensive, I would absolutely not have them run their bikes. And for me, a great part of my kids' Jewish education was talking about that kind of thing. We're going to Rabbi so-and-so's for prayers, and it would be very uncomfortable for that community to see the bike riding. I'm not ashamed of it. You shouldn't be ashamed of it. It would be hard for them. We have ridden our bikes places and attached them to a fence far enough away that that wouldn't be the case. But I think that's part of being respectful of somebody else's interpretation.
Next, Debbie briefly explains 2 other aspects of her family's practice of Judaism.
We do keep a kosher home. Out of the house, I and my husband both always ate vegetarian. Out of the house, it didn't have to be a kosher restaurant. My kids are the same way. When my kids were little, my husband used to study with them regularly once during the week and kept a little journal, which I still have, of all their questions and their responses. For quite some time, we took each son to a very, very, very Orthodox community that we lived near, that on Wednesday nights opened their study hall to any father and sons to come study for the entire community. And the young men who studied at that yeshiva, at that school, kind of circulated around, being cheerful and asking, did anybody want a drink or a snack or have any questions about text? It was a very beautiful program. As different as that group of Jews was from us, they were completely open and supportive, and I loved that my kids had an opportunity to do that with their father.
For Debbie, the core of Judaism is living an ethical, compassionate, and just life.
I take very seriously, and I believe I've managed to raise my kids taking very seriously doing good things in the world. That's not solely for Jews, and many, many non-Jews have done brilliant things and are role models and leaders. But that is our responsibility as Jews, to help make the world a better place and to do good things for other people. And that it can happen in very small ways, and it's extremely significant. This dog here is the 7th dog that my family has raised to be a service dog. In Judaism, we're asked to tithe our funds to charity, give a tenth. We've never been in a position where a tenth of our money was sparable. But what we can do is give our heart and our time. So this is the 7th service dog that's lived with us 24/7, 365 that we've raised for service, to serve, to be of help to somebody else. That would be an example of a way I make good on my time by giving my time. I definitely identify as a Jewish value, and I don't believe that a very kosher home or the strictest of Sabbath or the most modest dressing in the world gives you permission to be an unkind, ungenerous person. Without the other piece, I'm not impressed.
Finally, when I asked if she had any concerns about the Jewish people today, Debbie immediately focused on the problem of Israel's unjust treatment of the Palestinians and non-Jewish Israeli citizens.
So, I am very left in my politics, both in America and in Israel. It's certainly, past extended period of time, the government of Israel and the politics of Israel have been problematic for me. I definitely identify as a Zionist. I think I don't get the choice. I don't get to say, oh, well, you're too right-wing for me, so I am part of it. That's what I got born into. I lived in Israel for many years, so when I was there, working towards more centrist view, or actually what I would just say, more humane view of the world and our neighbors and that piece of the world, was day to day easier. From here I still belong to various organizations and participate in some activities. It's hard. There is in the Jewish community a sense of we don't criticize Israel when non-Jews are around. I think that's absurd. There's things I don't agree with. There's ways that we have become repressive. The occupation of Palestinian territory, the way we speak about non-Jews in the country, the employment opportunities that are and are not available to them, non-Jewish Israelis have a different color license plate. There are true security concerns, absolutely, and there always have been. But there is no, I can find no good reason or justification for land under Jewish rule to have open sewage systems that children are walking through on their way to classrooms that don't have books. It doesn't matter to me who they are. That it's obscene. I understand it's a complicated situation, but there's a clear moral path. There's many of us in Israel and in America that feel this way, many, many, many. It's not the easier road to take as a Jew. Israel, right or wrong, is way easier.